The most powerful leaders in history share one counterintuitive secret. They chose to suffer first. Machiavelli, the master strategist, understood that the path to ultimate control isn't found through constant comfort, but through strategic suffering. What I'm about to share will change how you view hardship forever. When everyone else runs from pain, the truly exceptional run toward it. They understand that voluntary descent, choosing difficulty before it chooses you, is the ultimate power move. Think about it. While your competitors seek comfort, you're building resilience through deliberate discomfort. This isn't about pointless suffering. It's about strategic sacrifice now for unparalleled strength later. The voluntary descent isn't weakness, it's calculated power. It's about training your mind to thrive in conditions that break others. Machiavelli recognized that those who master themselves first gain mastery over everything else. The difference between those who lead and those who follow often comes down to one quality: the willingness to embrace difficulty when everyone else avoids it. In the next few minutes, I'll reveal how you can harness this ancient wisdom to transform every challenge into a strategic advantage. The principles I'm about to share have created empires, built fortunes, and shaped history's most influential figures. And today they'll change how you approach every obstacle in your path. Number 1. The strategic surrender principle. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to thrive in situations that would break most of us? There's something fascinating about those rare individuals who willingly step into difficulty while everyone else runs away. Throughout history, the greatest leaders didn't just endure hardship, they actively sought it out. But why? What did they understand that most people miss? Think about this for a moment. What if avoiding pain actually makes you weaker? What if the very things you're running from are exactly what you need to embrace? This paradox sits at the heart of Machiavelli's approach to power and control. He recognized that those who voluntarily choose their battles gain an advantage that those who merely react to circumstances never will. Consider the difference between these two paths. In the first, you face challenges only when forced to, scrambling to respond, feeling victimized by circumstances beyond your control. In the second, you deliberately select which hardships to face, when to face them, and how to approach them. Which person emerges stronger? Which one gains true control? This brings us to our first principle out of 5, the strategic surrender principle. Rather than fighting against inevitable challenges, deliberately surrender to selected hardships on your own terms. When you choose when and how you face difficulties, you transform from being a victim of circumstances to the architect of your resilience. This isn't about seeking pain for pain's sake. It's about strategic suffering with purpose. Think of it like controlled exposure in medicine. Small, deliberate doses of a pathogen help your body build immunity. Similarly, controlled exposure to adversity builds immunity against life's unexpected blows. The key word here is controlled. You decide the timing, intensity, and duration. Machiavelli understood that those who wait for hardship to find them will always be at a disadvantage compared to those who seek it first. When you choose your battles, you fight from a position of strength. You've prepared mentally, emotionally, and physically. You've selected the battleground and the weapons. So, how do you implement this principle today? Start by identifying one challenge you've been avoiding. Maybe it's a difficult conversation, a physical challenge, or a skill that intimidates you. Then voluntarily engage with it, not recklessly, but strategically. Set clear boundaries and goals. Approach it as training, not torture. Remember, the voluntary descent isn't about unnecessary suffering. It's about becoming the author of your challenges rather than their victim. When you surrender strategically to selected hardships, you're not giving up control. You're establishing it at a deeper level. Those who master the strategic surrender principle don't just endure life's difficulties better than others. They actively use them as stepping stones to greater power. They turn what would break others into the very foundation of their strength. Number 2, the discomfort threshold theory. Everyone has a comfort zone, but have you ever wondered why some people seem capable of achieving so much more than others? It's not just about talent or opportunity. There's something else at play, something Machiavelli observed in the most effective leaders of his time. The true dividing line between extraordinary achievers and everyone else often comes down to one simple factor: how much discomfort they're willing to endure on the path to their goals. Think about the last time you stopped pursuing something important. Was it because it was truly impossible? Or was it because you reached the limit of discomfort you were willing to tolerate? For most of us, it's the latter. We don't hit our actual limits. We hit our discomfort thresholds. This brings me to our second principle of 5, the discomfort threshold theory. Your capacity for achievement is directly proportional to your discomfort threshold. The higher your tolerance for strategic discomfort, the greater your potential for accomplishment becomes. Here's what makes this principle so powerful. Unlike many factors that determine success, your discomfort threshold isn't fixed. It can be systematically expanded through voluntary hardship. Think of it like strength training. The muscle grows stronger only when pushed to the point of difficulty. Your capacity for handling challenges works the same way. By systematically expanding this threshold through voluntary hardship, you access levels of performance that remain completely unavailable to those trapped in comfort zones. This is why Machiavelli emphasized the importance of deliberately seeking out certain hardships, not because suffering itself was valuable, but because it expanded one's capacity to endure whatever was necessary to achieve great objectives. How do you put this into practice? Start with small daily discomforts and progressively increase intensity. Perhaps begin with a cold shower, or fasting for part of a day, or tackling your most difficult task first thing in the morning. The specific discomfort matters less than the deliberate practice of pushing just slightly beyond what feels comfortable. What's happening on a deeper level is remarkable. You're actually rewiring your neurological response to challenge. Each time you voluntarily step into discomfort, your brain forms new associations. Discomfort becomes less threatening. Your nervous system adapts, allowing you to remain calm and focused in situations that would previously trigger stress responses. Think about what this means practically. While others hit their discomfort threshold and retreat, you'll just be getting started. Negotiations that make others anxious will be where you thrive. Physical challenges that exhaust your competitors will be your warm-up. Mental tasks that overwhelm your colleagues will be where you find your flow. The most successful people in history understood this secret. The pain of discipline is far less than the pain of regret. By embracing strategic discomfort today, you avoid the much greater discomfort of unrealized potential tomorrow. Number 3, the inverse leverage law. Have you noticed how society increasingly champions comfort and convenience above all else? We live in an era where apps deliver our meals, algorithms curate our entertainment, and automated systems handle our most basic tasks. There's nothing inherently wrong with this, but it does create an interesting opportunity that Machiavelli would have instantly recognized. When everyone moves in one direction, exceptional advantage often lies in the opposite path. This counterintuitive truth reveals itself when we examine how power and influence truly operate. What happens when everyone around you seeks maximum comfort while you deliberately embrace strategic difficulty? This brings us to our third principle out of 5, the inverse leverage law. The more comfortable everyone else becomes, the more powerful your voluntary hardship becomes. When others avoid difficulty, your willingness to embrace it creates disproportionate advantages. Consider what happens in any competitive environment, whether business, academics, athletics, or politics. As the majority gravitates toward convenience and immediate gratification, they simultaneously develop a decreased capacity for handling inevitable challenges. Their discomfort thresholds shrink, their resilience diminishes, their ability to weather uncertainty and adversity weakens. Meanwhile, those who deliberately practice strategic suffering develop precisely the opposite traits. This creates an expanding gap between the two groups. The inverse relationship means that as society grows more comfort-oriented, your strategic suffering delivers increasingly outsized returns. Your competitive advantage multiplies. Think about how this plays out in real situations. When market conditions get tough, your comfort-oriented competitors panic and make emotional decisions, while you remain clear-headed. When a project demands long hours or difficult conversations, others burn out or avoid conflict, while you draw on your expanded capacity. When physical challenges arise, others quit at the first signs of fatigue, while you access deeper reserves of endurance. Machiavelli understood that power often comes not from avoiding pain, but from having a greater capacity to endure it than those around you. This isn't about martyrdom or pointless suffering. It's about recognizing the strategic advantage that comes from being the exception in a comfort-obsessed world. How do you implement this principle? Start by identifying areas where others in your field or social circle consistently avoid difficulty. Perhaps it's waking up early, engaging in deep focused work without distractions, having difficult conversations, or pushing physical limits. Then deliberately cultivate strength, precisely in these areas. The beauty of the inverse leverage law is that it doesn't require you to be exceptional in absolute terms, only relatively more willing to embrace strategic discomfort than those around you. Even small differences in this capacity create outsized advantages over time. Remember, this isn't about suffering for suffering's sake. It's about recognizing the tremendous leverage that comes from being willing to do what others won't. In a world that increasingly optimizes for comfort, your deliberate embrace of strategic difficulty becomes your greatest competitive edge. Number 4. The pressure point protocol. We all have moments when we break. Perhaps you've experienced it, that point where stress overwhelms you, fear takes over, or fatigue clouds your judgment. These breaking points aren't random. They're specific psychological pressure points unique to each of us, and they determine where we're most likely to fail when stakes are high. What makes these pressure points so dangerous isn't just that they exist. It's that most people never deliberately confront them. Instead, they hope to avoid situations that trigger these vulnerabilities. But Machiavelli understood something profound about power and control. Unaddressed weaknesses inevitably become the levers others use to control you. This brings us to our 4th principle out of 5, the pressure point protocol. Identify your psychological pressure points, areas where discomfort causes you to abandon your principles or goals, and deliberately expose yourself to controlled doses of that specific pressure. Think about what happens when you're under extreme stress. Do you abandon your values, make impulsive decisions, withdraw from challenges, lash out at others? These reactions reveal your particular pressure points. For some, it's social rejection. For others, it's uncertainty. For many, it's criticism or failure. Whatever causes you to break your normal patterns of behavior is a pressure point. The conventional approach is to organize your life to avoid these triggers. But this strategy fails spectacularly when circumstances inevitably place you in situations where these pressure points get activated. That's why Machiavelli advocated for a different approach. Targeted exposure. This targeted approach neutralizes your unique vulnerabilities while building specialized resilience precisely where you need it most. It's about converting your greatest weaknesses into areas of exceptional strength. Think of it as psychological immunization. Controlled exposure builds resistance. How do you implement this principle? Start by honestly identifying the specific types of pressure that cause you to break form. Is it public speaking, confrontation, criticism of your work, financial insecurity, physical discomfort? Be ruthlessly honest about where you're most vulnerable. Next, design controlled exposures to these specific pressures. If rejection terrifies you, put yourself in low-stakes situations where rejection is likely. If uncertainty paralyzes you, deliberately place yourself in ambiguous situations with limited downside. If criticism wounds you deeply, actively seek feedback on your work. The key is calibration. Exposure should be challenging enough to trigger discomfort, but not so overwhelming that it reinforces negative patterns. Start with mild exposures and gradually increase intensity as your resilience grows. Machiavelli observed that those who controlled others did so by understanding and exploiting their pressure points. But those who controlled themselves and ultimately gained greater power did so by first understanding and then systematically desensitizing their own pressure points. This protocol transforms the very things that once controlled you into sources of extraordinary strength. Where others crumble under specific pressures, you remain composed precisely because you've deliberately trained under those conditions. Remember, the goal isn't to eliminate discomfort. It's to develop specialized resilience to the specific forms of discomfort that previously derailed you. When you neutralize your psychological pressure points, you remove the leverage others might use against you and establish deeper control over yourself and your circumstances. Number 5. The Adversity Portfolio Method. Most approaches to personal development focus on excelling in one area, becoming physically stronger, mentally sharper, or emotionally more resilient. But Machiavelli observed something crucial about truly powerful individuals. They developed balanced resilience across multiple domains of life. This comprehensive approach produced leaders who could withstand challenges that would break others who had developed only specialized forms of strength. Think about it. What happens when someone builds tremendous physical endurance but crumbles under social pressure? Or develops mental toughness but neglects spiritual resilience? The chain always breaks at its weakest link. True power comes from systematic development across all dimensions of human experience. This brings us to our 5th and final principle, the Adversity Portfolio Method. Just as investors diversify financial assets, strategically diversify your voluntary hardships across physical, mental, social, and spiritual domains. By maintaining a balanced adversity portfolio, you develop comprehensive resilience while preventing burnout in any single area. This approach ensures that no single type of challenge can completely derail you. When pressure comes, as it inevitably will, you have reserves of strength across multiple dimensions. In the physical domain, this might include deliberate exposure to discomfort through exercise, fasting, or environmental challenges like heat and cold. In the mental domain, it could involve tackling complex problems, engaging with opposing viewpoints, or learning difficult skills. Socially, it might mean facing rejection, leading difficult conversations, or speaking publicly. Spiritually, it could include facing existential questions, practicing self-examination, or periodically reassessing your deepest values. What makes this method so powerful is how these different forms of resilience reinforce each other. The discipline developed through physical challenges transfers to mental persistence. The courage built through social risk-taking strengthens spiritual conviction. The clarity gained through spiritual practice enhances mental performance. Machiavelli understood that leaders who excelled in only one domain were vulnerable in ways that those with balanced development were not. The most influential figures in history could endure physical hardship, mental strain, social pressure, and spiritual challenges with equal composure. How do you implement this principle? Start by auditing your current challenges and intentionally balancing your exposure across all life dimensions. Where are you already strong? Where have you been avoiding necessary discomfort? Then deliberately incorporate practices that address your portfolio's weaknesses. The key is balance. If you're already physically disciplined but avoid social discomfort, prioritize the latter. If you regularly challenge yourself mentally but neglect spiritual questions, create space for deeper reflection. The goal isn't to make every domain equally difficult all the time, but to ensure that no area remains perpetually unchallenged. Remember, this isn't about random suffering, it's about strategic development across life's full spectrum. By maintaining a balanced adversity portfolio, you develop a form of resilience that's both deeper and more versatile than specialized strength alone could ever provide. Those who master this method don't just handle specific challenges better, they develop a fundamental capacity to face whatever life brings with equanimity and effectiveness. In doing so, they embody the comprehensive form of power that Machiavelli recognized as truly unshakable. As we reach the end of our journey through Machiavelli's wisdom on strategic suffering, remember that true power isn't found in avoiding difficulty. It's built through deliberate engagement with it. By embracing the strategic surrender principle, expanding your discomfort threshold, leveraging the inverse leverage law, neutralizing your pressure points, and diversifying your adversity portfolio, you transform voluntary descent into ultimate control. The path isn't easy, nor should it be. But those who willingly walk it discover that chosen suffering builds a strength that random suffering never could. Your capacity to choose difficulty before it chooses you might be the most powerful advantage you'll ever develop. Start small, be strategic, and watch as the very challenges that break others become the foundation of your unshakable strength. The voluntary descent isn't the end, it's where your true ascent begins.